It's my distinct pleasure to introduce our first speaker for this evening, a luminary in the field of medical research and education. Renowned for her groundbreaking work and unwavering dedication to advancing healthcare, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Professor Neelika Malavige.
Neelika Malavige is a professor at the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine, University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Sri Lanka, and a member of the Executive Committee of the International Society of Infectious Diseases. She is an academic visitor at the Weatherall Institute of Molecular Medicine, University of Oxford. She is a medical graduate from the University of Colombo and carried out her doctoral studies at the University of Oxford. She is a fellow at the Royal College of Physicians in London and the National Academy of Sciences of Sri Lanka. Her research focus has been immunopathogenesis of dengue, biomarkers, and immune correlates of protection and translating these findings into clinical trials.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
She'll be delving into the intricacies of crafting impactful research abstracts. With her extensive experience in medical research, she's gonna share her insights on how to write abstracts that truly stand out. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you, Chaturanga, who invited me to do this. Just let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. As mentioned earlier, I hope you can keep it interactive. But I'll just start off. And I hope, because Chaturanga invited me, he is in the audience. I hope he is, because I'm going to ask him the first question. Now, Chaturanga, I have 3 pieces of cake here. Which one are you going to eat?
Probably, madam, left side one.
Okay, left side one. Okay, why not the right side one?
Because madam, left one capture my eyes too.
Yes, so if I gave you like, okay, 5 minutes to think about this, okay, because I think you took only 2 or 3 seconds to decide, right? If I gave you like 5 minutes to think about this, would you change your choice?
Then I should have the right to taste too.
No, you can't taste. If you asked to look at this picture for 5 minutes, are you going to change it? Your view. Will you choose the right piece of cake?
Probably I would change second.
Okay,
otherwise,
but not for the right one, right?
Yeah, but maybe it may be the delicious one. But from the picture, I couldn't guess that.
Yes. So in other words, you took several seconds. So what I wanted to tell you here was, when you write an abstract, now we are talking about abstracts, conferences, and abstracts for papers. But basically, whatever it is, you only have 15 to 30 seconds. Okay, not many more. So not much more time. 15 to 30 seconds to capture the attention of the reader, and by that time the reader would decide whether the abstract is accepted or not, whether it's oral or poster, okay, in a conference. And also in a journal, the editor, by that time, in 15 to 30 seconds, would decide whether to reject it or to send it for review. Okay, so it's very, very fast. And just to let you know why I'm saying that. So this year, I reviewed abstracts for 2 conferences. The first one was the European Congress of Infectious Diseases, which had over 7,000 abstracts, accepted ones. And the number of participants were 19,000. Okay, so over 19,000 participants with 7,000 something abstracts accepted. I reviewed 36 abstracts. Okay, so I mean, I can't spend days reviewing 36 abstracts. So, that's how people review abstracts. And the other meeting I reviewed is for International Society of Infectious Diseases, ICID, in Cape Town, happening in December. I reviewed 55 abstracts. Okay, so basically the reason, so that's about conferences. Now, when it comes to, manuscript papers, when you submit a manuscript, the editor initially goes through it and decides whether you're going to have a desk rejection or not, or whether the paper should be sent for review. And when it's sent for review, then the reviewer also, initially reads the abstract. So this is the power of the abstract. So the editor, for deciding to send it for review, it's only going to take 15 to 30 seconds. I'm an editor in many international journals, and unfortunately, I don't think other editors are different than me. I know they are not. Okay, that's the time they take. And I review about 1 or 2 manuscripts per week. Okay, and get so many manuscript review invitations. So this is why, and after you look at the abstract and you form an opinion about that manuscript also. And first impressions count, and as Chaturanga just highlighted. Okay, so if you can't impress the reader in 15 to 30 seconds, you're gone. Okay, so this is why abstracts are really important. So I'm going to be talking about how to capture the attention and get your message across. Now, although the whole what I'm going to talk about is common to a conference abstract or manuscript abstract, initially I will be talking about the next about conferences also. Now, coming to the abstract is a summary of your whole research projects. It's usually about 250 words. Sometimes it can be 300 words, but usual word count is around 250. And in those 250 words, so it takes more than 15 to 30 seconds sometimes to just go through 250 words. So the person is just going to skim through it. Okay. And in 15 to 30 seconds, in 250 words, you have to explain why you did the research. Why is the topic important? How did you do it? What did you find? And what do you think you found? The implications of what you found, okay? So this is basically what the abstract is about. In other words, the whole study, isn't it? I mean, why did you do it? Why is the topic important? How did you do it? What did you find? And what do you think of what you found? Now, when you submit an abstract to the conference, it is very important to choose the right conference. First of all, I would like to say that there are many predatory conferences and predatory journals. Okay, because many predatory journals, I mean, there's a whole list of blacklisted predatory journals. And the usual email would be like, okay, would you like to submit a paper to this journal? And they give a very short time period of like 2 to 3 weeks. And say, say that you have to have publication charges. Okay, and so that's the usual predatory journal, giving you a very short time to submit and inviting you to submit, giving like 2 to 3 weeks to submit, and then also charging for publication charges. When it comes to conferences, again, there are so many invitations, speaker invitations for you to send abstracts. Would you like to come and speak at this conference? Would you like to come and speak at that conference? And that for your abstract, you have to pay this much. No actual conference would ask you to pay to submit your abstract, okay? Or to go and speak. If you have to pay to go and speak, or if you have to pay to submit your abstract, that is not a real conference. That's a predatory conference. So that is something that I wanted to highlight initially, because there are lots of people who sometimes fall for these type of conferences, spend money and actually go for these conferences to find out that is just a complete boru. Okay, so don't get caught in these predatory conferences. Now, to choose the conference, the important thing is to understand whether it aligns with your specific area of study. So when you want to go for an international conference, for instance, don't choose conferences in locations you would like to travel to. Okay, because let's say there is, you have done something on, I don't know, cancer immunotherapy or something like that, and there's a conference on cardiovascular disease, no point submitting there. Or a conference on public health, and you submit something on, molecular mechanisms of, myocardial infarction or something like that. Okay, so it has to be a conference that is relevant. And also, it is important whether it's an international or local conference. What you would submit for an international conference, you would I mean, sometimes it can be the same thing. For instance, something that is very local and would not uh, uh, be of interest to the international community, there is no point submitting a abstract to such a conference, because there is very limited chance that it will be accepted unless it has certain international implications. Okay? So otherwise, so there are certain very local things that have international implications. Otherwise, it's not true. No point submitting. The other way is also true. Sometimes certain things might have the international community might be interested, but there is no interest in the local community, and this quite often happens to us when we work on immunology. Because our abstracts are mainly on immunological method, like certain molecular mechanisms. These don't interest the local scientific community, so no point submitting our abstract to a local conference. So we tend to always, in such instances, submit to international conferences where it suits the audience. So you have to understand whether your study would interest the relevant audience. And finally, of course, the most important thing, if accepted, can you go? So you submit an abstract to some international conference. It's a wonderful study, but and you have high hopes. Yes, it's accepted. And of course, they are not going to pay for you to come and present your abstract, but you can't go. So then you ultimately, what happens is you have to withdraw your abstract. So it is far better in such instance, because unless it's like oral presentation, a top oral presentation, some international conferences don't give travel grants. Otherwise, depending on the conference, you might get a travel grant. But otherwise, paying from your own money to go to like some faraway place, that is impossible. So please choose the right conference. Now, coming to how to write the abstract, of course. The title is very, very important, because that's the first thing that whoever sees. And it has to be short, sweet, and adequately descriptive. Now, let me tell you something. Now, if somebody is asked to talk for 1 hour, it is very easy, because you have all the time in the world and you can say what you want in 1 hour. But if that person is asked to say the same thing in 5 minutes, it is very, very difficult. Okay? So, because summarizing is difficult, sticking to a time is difficult, because you have to really think of what are the most important things you want to say in 5 minutes versus, a whole hour. So again, when it comes to abstract, it is very, unless you're really used to it and you know something in and out, it's difficult to summarize and make it very short and sweet. So I will just give you a few examples. Yeah, again, conferences I've been to, so it's a little bit dengue and virus infection, leaning towards that. So the title of this abstract, very self-explanatory. Dengue virus lineage classification system to improve genomic surveillance. So when you read the title, you understand, okay, this is what it is talking about. It's not a complicated, very long sentence. Okay, here, molecular mechanisms underlying flavivirus dendritic cell interactions. Okay, so as soon as you read the title, you understand what that abstract is about. All this. Characterization of beta-lactamase producers in sewer samples in the city of Seville, Spain. Okay, so as you can see, these are very short and sweet, but it's self-explanatory. As soon as you read that, read the title, you understand whether it's an interesting study. Do you want to read further? And it's the title that actually goes carries the weight if it's subsequently accepted as a poster, or it is published in some, when you're searching on PubMed, or once it's finally published, or even if you're going to do oral presentation, the title has to be very self-explanatory. If you have, if the results are exciting and novel, I mean, you can indicate it in the title. So in this title, the title is a summary of the research findings. So if you read this title, prior Zika or dengue virus infection increases risk of subsequent symptomatic infection by dengue virus 2, 3, and 4 but not one. Okay, so I mean, that's a summary. That is a one-sentence summary of the whole research. So if you have novel and exciting things, you can also summarize the whole study in in your title. So as soon as I read this, I want to read this abstract. As soon as I read the title, okay, this study is talking about this. This I'm very much interested in. Okay, what have they done and how have they found this thing? And look at this. Dengue NS5 modulates pro-inflammatory cytokine production in a serotype specific manner. Okay, so and okay, this NS5 does this in a serotype specific manner. So again, that is a one sentence summary of the whole result. Or this one. Delta immature platelet fraction is associated with mortality in bacteremia patients. Okay, and then I think, okay, so you see, it's very, the title is a one sentence summary of the whole abstract, and that's a very catching thing to do. So these type of titles are better than the titles I showed earlier, if you can do this. Now, coming to the format of the abstract, sometimes abstracts may be structured, such as introduction, background, methods, results, conclusions, and discussions. Or sometimes the abstract can be unstructured. Some conferences or some journals ask for structured abstracts. Some conferences and some journals ask for unstructured abstracts. Okay, for some journals, the abstract length can be 350 words or 200 words. If you're publishing in Nature, okay, Nature only allows 150 words in the abstract. Okay, all Nature journals only let you put 150 words, and it's a non-structured 150-word abstract for Nature. Okay, so this is just letting you know how different. There are journal styles, but 150 words is like really, stretching it, not stretching it, but condensing it. Now, I'm just going to highlight some general rules. Okay, first of all, use very simple English. Okay, because writing all of you, I believe, are writing scientific abstracts and not abstracts to do with literature. Okay, so use very simple English, and even like it's no reason to use any big words at all. Even if you use Ekepanthi English, that's even better. Now, and please write short sentences, and I will give you example. Okay, so I went to the market. I saw tasty mangoes. Okay, wait. I bought them. Then it started to rain, so I ran to the shop. Yeah, so this is like everybody understands. I went to the market. As I saw tasty mangoes, I bought them. Then it started to rain, so I ran to the shop. Now, instead of, I was drawn to the mouth-watering mangoes on my trip to the market, which I could not resist buying. Okay. Subsequently, as thunder clashed and the rain fell, I took cover in a shop. Okay. I mean, for me to understand what actually is written here, you have to read it like, okay, it takes time to read this. Okay. Okay. But it's the same thing that has been said. So this is why it is important to write simple English. Especially if you are writing to an international conference, because the reviewer who is reading your abstract might not be in English might not be the first language of that person. Okay, I mean, English is not the first language of us, but also the people who are reviewing the abstract, English might not be the first language. English is not the first language in the vast majority of people in the world. So it is very important to keep things as simple as possible. I mean, you can't go wrong by using short sentences and simple English without trying to write literature. Okay, and don't complicate things again. And use words like respectively, because when you use these difficult words, then you have to read the sentence twice to understand what exactly the person means. Now, for instance, here, the mean height, weight, and BMI of study subjects was 164, 65, and 24.1. So like, okay, I'm going to, okay, height, okay, weight, and, all that. Fortunately, because, height, weight, and BMI are three different parameters, it's clearer, okay? But imagine it was like the same thing. Of the healthy volunteers, the height was this much, and, of the disease group, it was this much, then it's like very difficult. Whereas, right, simple like this. The mean height of the study subjects is 164, the weight 65, and the BMI 24.1. Okay, this is so much easier to read and digest by the person reading it. And finally, always ask if someone can else who knows nothing. So always show to your friends who have nothing, know nothing about your study, to see if they can understand what the abstract is about. If they can't understand it, then you failed, okay? Because it's people who's if it's international conference, it's people with the second, first language, not English, who are mainly reviewing abstracts. In Sri Lanka, of course, it's Sri Lankans, but it's best to be clear as possible. Now, introduction and background. Why did you do the study? So when you submit it to a conference, the subject audience will already know something about the topic. So I have seen this habit of, wanting to start off, reinventing the wheel. Like if it's cardiovascular disease, saying, cardiovascular disease, blah, 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 everybody knows that. So the introduction to the topic of why you did the study, just one sentence, and what you did. So this is an example. The randomized progress trial proved that early stop of antibiotics in sepsis guided by changes of procalcitonin leads to decreasing incidence of new infections by blah, blah, blah. First sentence. Next sentence, we investigated if the gut microbiome was preserved in these patients. Okay. The background, why you did it. Okay. The aim of the study. Another example. The plasmid-mediated resistant gene MCR1 confers colistin resistance in E. coli by decreasing the negative charge of LPS, a key factor in bacteria-host interactions. In this work, we investigated the impact of LPS charge modification induced by this. Okay, background one sentence. Then the objective of this study, one sentence. Okay, just two sentences for the background. Now methods is again short and sweet. No details are required. People usually know what you're talking about. Okay, so you don't have to describe the techniques, but just name the techniques. So here the methods, and another example, we modify the established synthetic sputum model SCM2. Okay, so if you don't know what the synthetic sputum model FCM2 is, okay, too bad, Google it. Okay, so if the reviewer doesn't understand this established model of SCM2, they're supposed to Google it. Okay, otherwise the reviewers who are reviewing the abstract, it can be a journal abstract or a conference abstract, they're supposed to know it. Okay, and we use MALDI-TOF to identify LPS modification arising from synthetic sputum exposure. I mean, it's a huge amount of work, but just, two sentences. In this study, it is just, one sentence. In this study, we validated the gene expression and surface protein expression of differentially expressed chemokine receptors found in human visceral leishmaniasis subjects compared to healthy volunteers by real-time PCR and multicolor flow cytometry, respectively. Okay, so they have just used the words respectively because it's difficult to put everything. Because in this sentence, they have said that they looked at gene expression, surface protein expression in differentially expressed cytokine receptors in human VL subjects by these methods. Okay, so I mean, in one sentence, you highlight everything you've done. So it's not easy summarizing. So this is why you need to practice. Now, if somebody says, okay, these are international conferences, you have to write, lots and lots for local conferences, just highlighting two of our abstracts which have been accepted for oral presentations at SLMA. So here, individuals aged 5 to 8 were recruited from Colombo area, urban this many subjects, and Borrelioides this many, and dengue seropositivity assessed by IgG ELISA. The in-house ELISA was developed by validating with FRNT in 76, and the seroprevalence rate in 20 were compared to 2013. Okay, another abstract which is accepted for oral. A stratified multi-stage cluster sampling approach was used to recruit 5,042 school children aged 10 to 19 from 9 districts representative of 9 provinces in Sri Lanka. Demographic and clinical data were collected using the ISAC questionnaire for children. Okay, so again, 2 sentences, but I mean, the second one is a massive study. Okay, but it's self-explanatory. So this is, so irrespective of where your conferences is, or I mean, these are, we have written the papers also. In the papers, abstracts also, we only include this because I mean, in the paper also, you can all write 250 words. Results. What you found, okay, this is the most important thing, and you have to leave the most space to write your results. But of course, when you do a study, you have so many different types of results. It is important to highlight the most interesting key findings. Okay, so don't write boring stuff like, so many percentage were males, so many percentages were females, ages were, because I mean, as I showed, these are irrelevant things unless it's really relevant. So I'm giving you examples again. So these were, I showed you methods earlier of this abstract, which is about procalcitonin levels and things. So you can see here they have done genomic sequencing of all these. Richness and diversity were similar at the PCT treatment arm and this standard of care treated patients. Okay. The Shannon diversity, I won't tell you what that is, but anyway, was significantly decreased in the standard of care arm on day 7 compared to the baseline. But as you can see, if you read through this abstract, I mean, it gives you all the data. I mean, the number of patients in each arm, okay? The median levels, okay? The confidence intervals, the p-values of all these. So all the statistics, odds ratios, confidence intervals, p-values, everything is given. So it is a very scientific description of results. So it's just because you have a small word count, so it's the results that you have to really concentrate on. It's highlighting a lot of results, but and very scientifically. So it's not saying like it was significant without actually showing the p-value. If you are going to say something is significant, you have to put a p-value there, okay? Because people can't. When you say significant, what exactly do you mean? When you say something is associated with a higher risk, you have to give odds value, or a lower risk, the odds value or the relative risk. You can't just make statements in your results without putting actual results there. So your results should contain actual results. If you're especially talking about significant, higher, lower, what do you mean by higher, lower, significant? All these things you have to indicate that. This is another abstract where, again, methods short, okay? Whole genomic sequencing, MTB, from 2017 to 22 sequences. So then in the results, it says, 122 strains for 122 patients were collected. Pulmonary TB, potential, so it's very, all the important percentages are given there. Okay, so this is, you have to very correctly scientifically mention your results. Again, okay, so full results are shown. Finally, coming to the conclusion. Okay, you can't again write, I recommend our study is the first thing. I recommend this. I recommend, all these things. Those things are actually not what you want to put in 1 or 2 sentences. The conclusion, the most important findings. Okay, so here, so this is just just 2 sentences. Among the population with high rates of vaccination and infection, we observed broad serological response to booster and so on. So it's just the most important conclusion of the most important findings or 2. Okay, so again, in summary, we herein show that the newborn and pregnant individuals can benefit from long-term immunity elicited by COVID-19 immunization before pregnancy. Okay, since pregnant women and the offspring. So you see just 1 or 2 sentences highlighting the main research findings or the conclusions of the study. Now, this is my last slide, and I would like to take questions. It is very important to not to write your abstract in a hurry, okay, unless you are a pro, okay, because you have to think about all these things and write it carefully. And always ask your colleagues and friends for input from those who have not been involved in the study, because people who are involved in the study are biased and they, of course, understand what you're talking about. And ask for honest feedback and be prepared to take it. The problem with a lot of people is they ask for feedback, but they can't take it. So, but I hope all of you, because from what I have seen so far is a very enthusiastic crowd, very much wanting to, move forward. So I think a growth mindset is what you needed rather than a fixed mindset. And I believe all of you have that. So with that, I will stop and most happy to take questions.
Thank you, Madam. Let's extend our sincere gratitude to Professor Neelika Malavige for sharing her invaluable insights into the art and science of abstract writing. Her expertise has undoubtedly enlightened us all. That was really interesting presentation. Just like you showed at the beginning, it was a really delicious cake. And Madam, your passion for research is truly inspiring, and we all have benefited immensely from your knowledge and experience. I'm sure many of you have questions. The audience is now open for questions.